Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation. Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People. It is Friday, December 18th, 2020, and the ATF is the gift that just keeps on giving. But before we get into that, I want to greet and thank my wonderful esteemed panel for showing up. As usual, we have the Tactical Pickle himself, Calaveras 32 Special. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, and if the ATF is the gift that keeps on giving, never mind. This is a family-friendly show. I'll hold my tongue.
I hear you. I think I'm going to have a bit of difficulty holding my tongue today too. Yeah. I might infringe on Squib's tagline and become irascible. Speaking of irascible, we got the irascible yet lovable Squibload. How you doing, sir?
No, I do not want to update my Firefox right now. Oh, hi everybody. Yeah, feeling maybe not as irascible as Budget tonight, but glad to be here.
And I'm glad to have you. Speaking of glad to have you, I'd like to say hello to everybody out there in the chatteroo. We got Pickle out there pulling double duty. Mystic Gun said she probably isn't going to be here tonight, which is a sad thing. Wish you were here, but, you know, if you got to get up early, you got to get up early. Go to bed. Real stuff comes first, right? Jason Stewart in the house. Lead Life is out there. He says he's leaving Columbus and heading to Jackson for the weekend deer hunt. Going to be listening during the drive. Enjoy. Good luck. Catch a monster. Let's see. Which Jackson, by the way, Ohio has down. It's down in the southern part of the state. Has some really nice country down there. I camp down near Jackson in the Wayne National Forest, and it's just beautiful down there.
So it'll be
a lot of up and down, but
antlerless?
it's not sure.
Oh.
Let's see. Mel the Nut is out there. Is rant. Says he's getting a beer for this one. Yeah, I might need one after I'm done. Bo Weevil's here. Nighthawk Medic's in the house. My daughter Morgan is out there. Hello to you, my child. Gabe Stark is out there. Midnight Range TM. Is Pancake farting on the ATF? Yeah, I cannot agree more. Two Live Moos out there. Let's see, and everybody else. So, yeah, ATF. How awesome is that, right? If you have been living under a rock, if you haven't been paying attention, then maybe you don't know that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or as I have stolen from Mark Walters of Armed American Radio, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Expletives, because they definitely make me want to cuss. It came out this week that the ATF is planning and did publish guidance on stabilizing braces. This is from the Firearms Policy Coalition. It says, your FPC team is in receipt of a draft notice from the BATFE regarding how the agency will be evaluating weapons with stabilizing braces. Based upon our initial review of this notice, we offer these thoughts for your consideration. Pardon me, amateur hour. Drink a carbonated beverage because I'm really, really tired and I need to have something so I can channel my inner Ric Flair and go, woo, tonight. Because, wow, I need to have some sort of positivity for all this crap. Anyhow, the draft document does not appear to reflect the new ban on pistol braces or firearms with such devices. The ATF evidently is not indicating that the mere presence of a brace on a pistol automatically converts the firearm into one under the purview of the National Firearms Act, NFA. Indeed, the ATF has no authority to declare accessories like pistol braces to be NFA components, though the agency's previous conduct provides little reassurance. I suppose they're talking about bump stocks, which were an accessory that magically somehow got transformed into a machine gun via regulatory fiat instead of legislative action by the ATF. The draft document instead purports to be intended to inform the public on how brace-equipped firearms will be examined in the future. Based on the criteria set forth in the draft document, it appears that the ATF would take something of a totality of the circumstances approach in determining whether a specific brace-equipped pistol is a short-barreled firearm regulated under the NFA. These criteria include the firearm's type, caliber, weight, and length, the design of the brace itself, whether the firearm can be properly aimed when using the attachment as a brace, and whether an optic that cannot properly be used one-handed is present, i.e., something that suggests intent. The agency also indicates that it will observe the marketing of firearms and accessories, as well as other more subjective factors. Importantly, the draft document recognizes that most people with braced firearms have acted in good faith. It suggests that the agency seeks to establish a procedure by which people who already have firearms that may fall under the purview of the NFA and who wish to take advantage of registering them as NFA firearms to obtain the legal protections of such may potentially do so without payment of the associated tax. With that said, the policies in the draft document do not appear to be a significant departure from previous publicly undisclosed agency policies, some of which were discovered through criminal prosecutions, FOIA requests, and other sources. Your FPC team will be monitoring the situation closely. If anything changes, we'll let you know as soon as possible. And that goes on to talk about if you're contacted by law enforcement, don't talk to them, don't open doors, don't leave your home, don't consent to a search, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that's great. That's an overview of what the draft document was. Let's go ahead and take a look at the document itself, because they did post it up for comment on the Federal Register. If one of my mods can, you know what, never mind. Let me see if I can, let me copy this. And I will post a link out in the chat. I don't like to generally come over here because it slows everything down, but yeah, there we go. So I just posted a link to the Federal Register for this document in the chat. So yes, let's take a look at this. Objective factors for classifying weapons with stabilizing braces. BATFE, notice, request for comment, summary. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is publishing the objective factors it considers. They've already lied because none of this shit's objective. It's all subjective, which is one of the problems I have with it. It considers when evaluating firearms with an attached stabilizing brace to determine whether they are considered firearms under the National Firearms Act and/or the Gun Control Act. ATF publishes this notice to inform and invite comments from the industry and public on the proposed guidance, which they'll ignore promptly. Objective factors for classifying weapons with stabilizing braces prior to issuing a final document. Upon issuance of final guidance, ATF will provide additional information to aid persons and companies in complying with federal laws and regulations. This notice also outlines ATF's enforcement priorities regarding persons who, prior to publication of this notice, made or acquired in good faith firearms equipped with a stabilized brace. Finally, this notice previews ATF's and the Department of Justice's plan to subsequently implement a separate process for current possessors of stabilizer-equipped firearms to choose to register such firearms in compliance with the NFA, including an expedited application process and the retroactive exemption of such firearms from the collection of NFA taxes. Written comments must be postmarked and electronic comments must be submitted on or before January 4th, 2021. Commenters should be aware from the electronic federal docket management system will not accept comments after midnight Eastern time on the last day of the comment period, which in and of itself is complete horseshit because they've cut the comment period. It's supposed to be 90 days, isn't it? They've cut it to 2 weeks. And it gives you the addresses where you can submit it, or you can submit it online as well. So, the Attorney General is responsible for enforcing NFA, GCA, and the Arms Export Control Act. The Attorney General has delegated responsibility for administering these statutes to the Director of ATF, subject to the direction of the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General. ATF Director delegated the authority to classify firearms pursuant to the GCA and NFA to ATF's Firearms Technology Criminal Branch, FTCB, and the Firearms Technology Industry Services Branch, FTISB, within the Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division, FATD, which I still say would be a great rapper name. Office of Enforcement Programs and Services, EPS. FAT-D supports the firearms industry and the general public by, among other things, responding to technical inquiries and by testing and evaluating firearms submitted to ATF for classification as to their regulation under the GCA and/or NFA. There is no requirement that the firearms industry or the public submit firearms to ATF for assessment of the firearm's proper classification. The statutory definition of firearm under GCA and the NFA is different. As a result, whether an item meets the definition of firearm under the GCA or the NFA affects how it will be regulated under federal law. For instance, the GCA restricts the transportation, sale, and delivery of short-barreled shotguns and short-barreled rifles. And it cites the statute 18 U.S.C. 922A4 and B4. Shotguns having a barrel or barrels of less than 18 inches in length, and rifles having a barrel or barrels less than 16 inches in length, and certain weapons made from shotguns and rifles are firearms as defined by the NFA and are subject to registration and taxes. Therefore, FAT-D's classifications of a particular firearm allows industry members to plan, develop, and distribute products in compliance with the law, thereby reducing their risk of incurring criminal or civil penalties or the potential for costly corrective actions, including a possible recall by the manufacturer. That last bit of bullshit there, that last sentence, is the problem I have with this. And we'll get back to it, because that lays out that their classifications allow industry members to design, sell, whatever, distribute products in compliance with this. Great, sounds wonderful, right? Except when we read on, there's no way in hell you can comply with anything because you don't know what it is. Well, which we'll talk about in a minute. Generally, when FAT-D evaluates a firearm sample, it examines its overall configuration, physical characteristics, objective design features that are relevant under the statutory definitions of the GCA and NFA, and any other information that directly affects the classification of a particular firearm sample. Even though firearms may appear to have similar features, an ATF classification pertains only to the particular sample submitted because variations in submissions, applicable statutes, judicial interpretations of these statutes, the manufacturer's or maker's intent, and the objective design. They keep using that word. I don't think it means what they think it means. Objective design features supporting that intent make the general applicability of any particular classification exceedingly rare. In recent years, some manufacturers have produced and sold devices designed to be attached to large and/or heavy pistols, which are marketed to help a shooter stabilize his or her arm to support single-handed fire. Braces. ATF was advised by the first manufacturer to submit an arm brace for classification that the intent of the arm brace was to facilitate one-handed firing of the AR-15 pistol for those with limited strength or mobility due to a handicap, and to reduce bruising to the forearm when firing with one hand. According to this manufacturer, the brace concept was inspired by the needs of disabled combat veterans who still enjoy recreational shooting, but could not reliably control heavy pistols without assistance. Consequently, ATF agrees that there are legitimate uses for certain stabilizing braces. The GCA and NFA generally regulate firearms and not individual components, and as such, ATF does not classify unregulated components or accessories alone. However, components or accessories can affect the overall classification of a firearm because 1. How a component or accessory is actually used may be relevant in assessing the manufacturer or maker's intent with respect to the design of a firearm, or 2. The design of a component or accessory may result in a firearm falling within a particular statutory definition. Stabilizing braces are one such component or accessory that ATF has encountered. ATF's long-standing and publicly known position is that a firearm does not evade classification under the NFA merely because the firearm is configured with a device marketed as a stabilizing brace or arm brace. When an accessory and a weapon's objective design features taken together are not consistent with use of the accessory as an arm brace, that is, not to stabilize a handgun when being operated with one hand, such weapon configured with the accessory may fall within the scope of the NFA, particularly where the accessory functions as a shoulder stock for the weapon. Accordingly, ATF must evaluate whether a particular firearm configured with the stabilizing brace bears the objective features of a firearm designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and thus subject to the NFA on a case-by-case basis. That case-by-case basis is going to be important, folks. As the purpose of the NFA is to regulate certain weapons likely to be used for criminal purposes, bullshit, United States v. Thompson Center Arms Company, 504 U.S. 505, 517 in 1992, the ATF cannot ignore the design features of a firearm that place it within the scope of the NFA's regulations simply because the manufacturer characterizes or markets a firearm accessory in a manner that does not correspond to its objective design. The characterization of an accessory by the manufacturer, including assertions in advertising, is not dispositive. If ATF's classification of a submitted example demonstrates that the objective design features of the firearm, as configured, do not support the manufacturer's purported intent and characterization of the accessory on that particular firearm as a stabilizing brace or arm brace, the ATF will classify the firearm based on the objective design features as federal law requires. Again, they keep saying objective, but none of this is objective. It's all subjective. For those of you out there from a liberal-dominated area, subjective means whatever the viewer thinks. I'm just saying. ATF has observed that the development and production of firearms with arm braces has become more prevalent in the firearms industry and, relatedly, that requests for classifications for this kind of firearm design have also increased. Therefore, ATF is publishing this notice to aid the firearms industry and public in understanding the objective design features that FATD considers when evaluating firearm samples submitted with a stabilizing brace or similar attachment. The objective design features ATF considers in determining whether a weapon with an attached stabilizing brace has been designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder include, but are not limited to, type and caliber. The type and caliber of firearm to which the stabilizing brace or similar item is installed. A large caliber firearm that is impractical to fire with one hand because of recoil or other factors, even with an arm brace, is likely to be considered a rifle or shotgun. Let me ask you, what's large caliber? What caliber are they talking about? What's the limit? Is there a limit? Or is it just, I'll know it when I see it? Hence, my assertion that this is subjective. Weight and length. The weight and length of the firearm used with the stabilizing brace. A firearm that is so heavy that it is impractical to fire or aim with one hand, or so long that it is difficult to balance the firearm to fire with one hand, is likely to be considered a rifle or shotgun. Okay, well, what's too heavy? What's too long? They don't tell you. Length of pull. The length of pull refers to the distance from the trigger to the point at which the stock meets the shoulder. This is a measurement for rifles and shotguns used to accommodate shooters of different sizes. Because an arm brace need only reach the forearm, the distance between the trigger and the back of the brace is generally expected to be shorter than the distance between the trigger and the back of a stock on a weapon designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. This measurement is not necessarily determinative of the intent of the manufacturer, but is used in making an evaluation of the firearm. If a brace is of a length that makes it impractical to attach to the shooter's wrist or forearm, then they may demonstrate that it is not designed as a brace, but rather for shoulder fire. Again, what is the length of pull that you guys want? Previously, it's been 13.5 inches. Anything longer than that falls outside the pistol category. Are you still going to go by that? Are you going to reduce the length? Or is it going to be, I'll know it when I see it? You have to understand, different people have different length forearms. Should someone who is 5'1" have use the same length of forearm as someone that's 6'4", or vice versa? Again, there's nothing objective about this. This is all subjective. Attachment method. The method of attachment of the stabilizing brace to include modified stock attachments, extended receiver extensions, and the use of spacers. These items extend the distance between the trigger and the part of the weapon that contacts the shooter, whether it is a stock or stabilizing brace. Use of these items indicates that the weapon is designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder because they extend the stabilizing brace beyond a point that is useful for something other than shoulder support. Again, what's an allowable attachment method? What's a not allowable attachment method? There's nothing objective in this bullshit. Stabilizing brace design features. The objective design features of the attached stabilizing brace itself are relevant to the classification of the assembled weapon and include the comparative function of an attachment when utilized as a stabilizing brace compared to its alternate use as a shouldering device, which says absolutely nothing. The design of the stabilizing brace compared to known shoulder stock designs. Okay, so what's not allowed? What is allowed as a stabilizing brace versus as a shoulder stock? They're not telling you. The design of the stabilizing, the amount of rear contact surface area of the stabilizing brace that can be used in shouldering the weapon as compared to the surface area necessary for use as a stabilizing brace. Again, how much surface area is allowable for the rear of a stabilizing brace? Tell us. Let us know. The material used to make the attachment that indicates whether the brace is designed and intended to be pressed against the shoulder for support or actually used on the arm. Okay, so what materials are allowed? How much flex is there allowed? What type of compression is there allowed in it? They don't say. Any shared or interchangeable parts with known shoulder stocks? Well, shit, that could be anything. And any other feature of the brace that improves the weapon's effectiveness from the shoulder firing position without providing a corresponding benefit to the effectiveness, the stability, and support provided by the user's brace, by the brace's use on the arm. Again, that sentence means absolutely nothing, or rather, whatever the fuck they want. Yes, there's one. Aim point. Appropriate aim point when utilizing the attachment as a stabilizing brace. If the aim point when using the arm brace attachment results in an upward or downward trajectory that could not accurately hit a target, this may indicate the attachment was not designed as a stabilizing brace. Again, because someone has poor form and shitty aim and isn't familiar with trying to shoot this thing in that manner, then that automatically makes it a shoulder stock and not a brace. Secondary grip. The presence of a secondary grip may indicate that the weapon is not a pistol because it is not designed to be held and fired by one hand. That's pointing right at AR and AK and other longer pistols, folks. Sights and scopes. Incorporation of sights or scopes that possess eye relief incompatible with one-handed firing may indicate that the weapon is not a pistol because they are designed to be used from a shoulder fire position and are incompatible for the single-handed shooting that arm braces are designed and intended. So what? If you're using a scope on it that would necessitate a cheek weld, but you're not touching your shoulder, that automatically, if you're getting a cheek weld now, but not touching the shoulder, that means it's a shoulder stock? What kind of horse shit is this? Peripheral accessories. Check this bullshit out. Installation of peripheral accessories commonly found on rifles or shotguns that may indicate that the firearm is not designed and intended to be held and fired with one hand. This includes, but is not limited to, love that phrase right there, includes, but is not limited to, the installation of bipods, monopods that improve the accuracy of heavy weapons designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. So I guess if you want to use this for bench rest shooting and you have a bipod on your pistol, screw you, it must be a rifle. Or the inclusion of a magazine or drum that accepts so many cartridges that it increases the overall weight of the firearm to a degree that it is impractical to fire the weapon with one hand, even with the assistance of a stabilizing brace. So if you have one of those evil high-capacity magazines on a pistol, I guess, it's a rifle now. Magic, right? These factors are based on known stabilizing braces and similar attachments. No single factor or combination of factors is necessarily dispositive, and FAT-D examines each weapon holistically on a case-by-case basis. Because of changes in design or configuration of a weapon or attachment, as well as future changes in technology, this list is not exhaustive, and other factors may become relevant to a weapon's classification. So, in other words, it means whatever the fuck they want it to mean. That's two. Whatever they say is a rifle is a rifle. Whatever they say is a pistol is a pistol. And no, they're not going to give you anything concrete, anything definitive, anything actually objective so that you can design, produce, and distribute and possess a pistol. Now, let's go to this paragraph. ATF recognizes that before issuance of this notice, there was a misunderstanding by some that a pistol assembled with any item purported to be a stabilizing brace still would be considered a pistol, regardless of other characteristics. The objective, again, they keep using that word, but I don't think it means what they think it means. The objective factors discussed here make clear that while some stabilizing braces may lawfully be used on pistols without bringing the firearm within the purview of the NFA, that is not necessarily the case for every pistol, because some firearms are configured or have characteristics such that they meet the statutory definition of a rifle or shotgun. Hereafter, affected stabilizer-equipped firearms. ATF understands that most individuals who acquired effective stabilizer-equipped firearms did so in good faith reliance on representations made by those selling the stabilizing braces of the firearms that those firearms were not subject to the NFA. Oh, well, that's mighty good of them to just not assume you're automatically being a criminal and that you thought you were following the law. Thank you very much, Master, for telling me that that in my heart I was a good boy. Consequently, following issuance of this notice, ATF and DOJ plan to implement a separate process by which current possessors of affected stabilizer-equipped firearms may choose to register such firearms to be compliant with the NFA. And here, folks, is the real meat of this entire thing, the real purpose of all of this. This paragraph right here is what they really are getting at. Let me read that again. Consequently, following issuance of this notice, ATF and DOJ plan to implement a separate process by which current possessors of affected stabilizer-equipped firearms may choose to register such firearms to be compliant with the NFA. May choose to register such firearms. As part of that process, ATF plans to expedite processing of these applications. Wow, that's mighty nice of them. And ATF has been informed that the Attorney General plans retroactively to exempt such firearms from the collection of NFA taxes if they were made or acquired prior to the publication of this notice in good faith. Wow, man, that's such a relief. They're going to, not charge me for what I already bought legally. This separate process may include the following options: registering the firearm in compliance with the NFA, permanently removing the stabilizing brace from the firearm and disposing of it. So, your legally acquired property that you spent, upwards of $100 or more on, you have to take it off and destroy it. Permanently removing the stabilized and replacing the barrel of the firearm, 16-inch or greater for a rifle or 18-inch or greater for a shotgun, or surrendering the firearm to the ATF or destroying the firearm. So you can register it, get rid of your lawfully acquired property, replace the short barrel on it with a longer barrel, destroy the gun, or give it to the ATF. Those are your options. And that paragraph is the entire point of all of this. Gun registration. This is what they want. They want you to either register it or get rid of it. Gun control is never about the gun, folks. It is always about the control. And that's all that this bullshit is. Now, those of us out there who own stabilizer brace equipped pistols, which I own, 4 of them, and unfortunately for me, I've shown all of them on YouTube already, so the feds can easily find out that I got them. We're faced with a choice: destroy them, turn them in, or register them. I'm not a lawyer, and I would never counsel someone to break the law. I would never say, for instance, that if, hypothetically speaking, you'd never put your stuff out there on the internet and none of them knows about it, particularly if it's not something that if it's something that you didn't fill out a 4473 on, that you bought private sale or whatnot. I would never encourage anyone to tell the ATF to suck your fat D and fail to comply with this. I would never say that, but some of us, well, I don't know that we're going to have a whole lot of options here. So what do you guys think? Out there in the chat and both here in the panel, is the entire point of this thing to get some registration going on? Because, folks, we all know what registration leads to eventually. So What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, that's for those who have them. That's for, okay, take them off and destroy them. What proof do you have to provide that you destroyed it? Do you have to show them the pieces? I mean, this is hypothetical. I'm not necessarily.
I don't know.
Asking, but that's for.
Because the ATF hasn't given us any specifics on any damn thing with this proposed rulemaking.
I get that. That's right. I would love to see even fewer of these braces turned in than there was bump stocks. I would rather see people take take it off and dispose of versus paying the paying NFA or registering. I would love to, if they enact this whole thing, I would like to see a grand total of 0 across the country actually be registered.
That would be great.
Just as a giant flying bird to the ATF.
Yeah, that would be awesome. What are your thoughts on this, Squib? Do you have any that you care to share?
I got nothing.
Nothing? Really?
Oh, slightly off topic. It's just after 9, so I thought I might do a public service announcement there for you, Budget.
Go ahead.
If you enjoy listening to gun politics, I encourage you to stick around. Those of you, if you want to debate, pump action versus, break action 9 versus 45, Daily Gun Show should be starting up any moment now. So that way, if G asks, we can say that we, encourage people to see his show too.
Well, I actually do. If you want to talk about that stuff, this ain't where you're going to talk about it. This is, was, and always will be politics, news, and current events as relates to the Second Amendment. If you want to talk actual guns, go hit up the Daily Gun Show, man. Show G some love. I'm kind of trying to catch up on the chat. I know that was a pretty long piece that I read there, and I didn't get through all of it.
And you are also, of all of our gun channels hosts, you are pretty good at the monologue, which can be beneficial sometimes.
Oh, well, thank you. In other words, folks, Budget likes to hear himself talk. Yes, Seven, you heard register. Mel the Nut says, if I register, I'm chucking the brace and going back to a stock. Yeah. Here's where I stand on this as far as personally, my own stuff. I was planning to convert my AK pistol into an SBR anyhow. So that's not... because I want to put a... I want to put a actual triangle folding stock on it instead of that triangle folding brace, and I want to put that triangle folding brace on the Ruger PC Charger because, well, that's just too awesome, right? So that I was going to register anyway when I got around to it. So with my AR pistol, I might just take the brace off it and put a padded buffer tube on it to get the cheek weld on it. I don't know, because I still want to have the flexibility of having a pistol as a vehicle gun, because I can keep the pistol in a vehicle when I go traveling, and it's a pistol, not a short-barreled rifle, and it has a hell of a lot less restrictions. On my X-Star EP9 in the Ruger PC Charger, though, man, I mean, what other options do I have realistically other than telling the ATF to go pound salt and risking going to prison for who knows how many years? Well, if it's like 10 years apiece, that's 20 years. I don't know that I want to be test case. You know what I'm saying? So I'm real torn. On the other hand, shall not be infringed. Fuck you, ATF. Blow me. So...
Budget, I thought of a question.
Yes.
Okay, and this is probably more towards the AK pistol really than the AR pistol, but it could still apply to the AR pistol. Why not just take the stock, the brace, the whatever off and just shoot it like a pistol?
Well, because
Is that illegal?
No, it's not illegal. You can remove all that stuff off of it and get rid of it, and it's a pistol. With the AK, number one, it's a lot better. It's more accurate. It's more controllable to have that cheek weld. So you need to have something coming off the back of it. That's why I want to turn that into an SBR, because it's easier to shoot that way. It's better to, it's more accurate and safer to shoot that way. And that's what we're talking about here, is safety equipment.
So if I want to go get a micro Draco and I don't put anything on it, it's still just a handgun?
Correct.
Okay, because...
So far.
Okay.
Unless and until they decide that evil assault pistols are bad and you can't have them, okay?
All right. Yeah, so...
With an AR pistol, cheeking the receiver extension, the buffer tube, without a brace on it is still viable, because people were doing that for decades anyway.
But what about just one hand in the thing and just shooting it like a pistol?
Well, you can do that, but again, to get a cheek weld makes it easier to control, makes it more accurate, makes it safer to shoot for you and everybody else around. Because you have that third point of contact.
Sure.
I don't know. I think so.
I've never shot an AR or AK pistol or SBR, because I don't think they're actually legal in my state, because I'm behind enemy lines. But this whole, this whole blow up about this thing is actually, made me halfway interested in, that one of those might actually be entertaining at some point, especially in a, if you load your own and you can put powder in it that's beneficial in the 9-inch barrel or whatever barrel length you want.
Yeah.
So they may actually backfire on themselves, and actually, by making a big hullabaloo about this, may actually drum up more interest.
Pale Horse 20 says, exactly, I agree with you 100%. That was just me speaking tongue-in-cheek. Trump could end this crap right now with one phone call. Last time I looked, he's still the president. Yeah, but come January 20th, he's not. So he could stop this for what, a month?
Well, and last time I checked, he may have been considered, quote-unquote pro-gun for someone in New York City, but compared to the rest of the country, he is, has not exactly proven himself to be, as much of an ally to the Second Amendment community as what everyone hoped 4 years ago.
No. He thinks he's pro-gun, but the rest of us know better. And I always knew that because, he's a New York politician. He's a New York Republican. He's going to be squishy on guns. But at the time, way better than the alternative, because remember, we could have had President Hillary Clinton, and that would have been disastrous, as we're about to find out with President Biden and then President Harris.
What's the over-under on how long before Harris bumps off Biden, either hook or by crook? 6 months, 2 months?
Yeah, I don't know. It ain't going to be... I doubt he makes it even halfway through his first term. Maybe not even a year. I'll say less than a year. That'll be my line there. But anyhow, back to this ATF thing. Melvinut says 3 months. Back to this ATF thing. Again, my problem with this is they keep using the word objective, but there's nothing objective that I read. I don't think so. I see a lot of stuff that really just says, a pistol is like art and pornography. I can't tell you what it is, but I know it when I see it. So they're not really defining anything. They're not giving any clear directions. They're not giving any clear guidelines. They're not giving any clear rules. They're saying, yeah, we'll look and we'll tell you if it is and if it isn't. And that's some bullshit. Because if people can be made felons for not following this rule. Remind you that this is not a law. This is rule. This is bureaucratic bullshit, not legislative process. This is regulatory fiat. If people can be turned into felons and go to prison for this, you should probably set this shit out pretty clear. But they're not doing it, and they won't. That's the problem I have with this. So, folks, you can go to the Federal Register, go to the link that I gave you. I believe there's a link there where you can make comments. Yes, at the top of the page, at the link I gave, and I will put it back out there in the chat to the Federal Register. There is right at the top is where you can submit a formal comment. They specifically say that they will not even consider comments that are profanity laden. So be professional.
You mean how professional all those people were during the bump stock comments where they were using profanity and threats? That really well.
Don't do shit like that.
The other thing is they want your name and address. How many people are going to go, I'm out?
Yeah. I'm going to leave mine.
Just because you put your name and address doesn't mean you have one of these things.
Exactly.
No, unfortunately, there's so many people that freak out. Oh my God! If they know who I am and where I am, they're gonna come kicking in my door, shooting my dog, and take everything I own. Because unfortunately, it seems that a larger percentage than what is reasonable within our culture, within our community, for lack of a better way of putting it, tends to be paranoid, anti-government nut jobs.
Well, that's the same John Smith who gets a delay over and over again on his 4473 because he won't put his SOCH on there.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like I put my social on when I do my 4473s because it's smoother, and they have all that dang information anyhow. If they really want to, I mean, you're not gonna hide from these people if they really want to come after you. So I mean, and if you have, depending on what state you're in, there's a lot of activities that have put you on one list or another, whether you know it or not. So just pony up and, put in your comment.
Yeah. Folks, don't sit on your ass and say nothing about this. This is what we can do, so this is what we have to do. I think that there are probably going to be some lawsuits filed over this. I suspect the GOA and the FPC are kind of slavering in the wings, waiting for them to actually submit a formal rule and finalize this before they can have standing to submit a lawsuit. I suspect that's going to happen. We'll see.
The FPC and the GOA are waiting in order to deal with that, but they haven't wasted any time asking for your money.
Well, of course not.
Now,
but on the other hand, they do need money in order to fight this.
I understand that, but
they're
they're
exploiting
$5 the situation the way the NRA does, but then they say they're better than the NRA, when they're really not any better than the NRA.
Well, they actually file lawsuits and shit, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean really, they do.
I can't speak, a whole lot about GOA, but I know at least FPC hearing, I mean, they're exploiting stuff like this for, hey, send us more money. But I can tell you, California was just in 2020. I can probably, I think there has been 4 or 5.
They just filed a lawsuit today.
Yeah, there's been 4 or 5 major ones that they've either filed or gotten progressed, in California alone, in 2020. So, yeah, they're constantly asking for money, but they, you can see that they are legitimately doing something. It's not just beg for money, build up our coffers, and maybe we'll do something someday. So
no, it's beg for money, build up our coffers, and we actually use the money for what we say we're going to use it for. We'll talk about this later in the program, but FPC filed a lawsuit in California today.
Yes, they did. That's right. I don't know all the details on it.
Mel the Nut says ATF is using the same tactics to get rid of braces and 80% lowers as they did bump stocks. Because such a small subset of gun owners use them, not worth fighting over.
Ding, ding, ding. Someone just hit the bell.
And there's a lot of people that'll go, arm braces, I don't give a shit. I ain't got one, I don't care. Just like they did with bump stocks. I said back then, guess what's coming next? I was right. Sucks being right on this, but I was right. Now we got them coming after arm braces and 80% lowers. Binary triggers are going to be next. Then it'll be high capacity magazines, then semi-automatics. It's all going to come during the next 4 years for sure. Particularly if they cheat their way, if they win in the Senate races in Georgia, the Senate runoffs, and they take control of the Senate, we're going to have a tough fight on our hands. We're already going to have a fight on our hands, but it's going to be really bad if they get hold of the Senate down there. That's not going to be good.
I have tried to warn people for years that California is a cancer, and our way of, or the politics, style of California is going to spread. And I'm watching it happen right now.
Yep.
This has to be fought, or it will continue to get worse. Period.
And that means you. If you can see my finger pointing at you, that means you. If you can hear my voice saying you, that means you have to get off your ass. You have to do something to fight this. Make phone calls to your elected representatives. Send letters. Actually sit down on paper with a pen and write a letter and lick a stamp, stick it on an envelope, send it. Send emails. Do something. Even if it's just open your checkbook and give money to the Firearms Policy Coalition or Gun Owners of America.
I think it's good that you're maybe making some productive suggestions there, because when you just say you need to get off your ass, there's some dumbass in his grandma's basement hugging his SKS right now going, I'll show them tomorrow. So be careful, all right? That's not the message that I think you're trying to put out there.
I don't want anybody.
They're out there.
I don't want any Timothy McVeighs here. I want law-abiding citizens to be law-abiding citizens and participate in the process and participate in our legal process as much as you possibly can. Do your civic duty. Make your voice heard in a legal way. And yeah, don't go filling up barrels with fertilizer and diesel. No, that's not what I'm saying. JC says, I'll say it again, they're going to keep destroying the second by edict because we have let them get away with it for so long. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. And unfortunately, we are not putting enough pressure on our elected representatives to make them do what they're supposed to do.
And also to say that we've allowed it, that's for, it's also, it seems to me it takes them 5 minutes to pass something. It also, and our options for pushing back against it are limited, and the ones that we have will take 5 years. And as soon as and by the time you get it, overturned, they've already got another one in the wings, ready to rubber stamp. So it's not easy to fight back, but that doesn't mean you don't push.
Listen, this whole G-Web said it best one time when he said, this is like mowing the lawn. You got to do it all the time. It's not you do it once and it's done. This is something that you have to keep up. This is something that you have to keep doing. This is not something that we can just fight one battle and, yay, we won, woohoo!
But that's what a bunch of people out there want, and I think they don't understand how you exactly fight to get your rights back a little at a time and to push back against what they do. And this is never going to end. If you think we're going to get one Supreme Court ruling and it's all over and you can go back to eating Cheetos,
we will be fighting this
fight.
Not
in this. You're a poser, whatever.
We will be fighting this fight for the rest of our lives. Our children will be fighting this fight for the rest of their lives. Our grandchildren will be fighting this fight for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
That's how this is. These people will not stop. They will not. They're like Terminators. They will not stop. They will not quit. They will just keep coming and coming and coming. We have to fight it.
And also, as Squib made the comment about you push back little by little, just like they've been taking it from us little by little.
That's right.
You're not going to get a Hail Mary, all or nothing.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. If we are to regain what we have lost, it will have to be 1 yard at a time.
And
Take a little bit here, take a little bit there, take a little bit on the next play. You're not going to get that Boston College 98-yard Hail Mary down the field and in the end zone, and you win the game. It's not going to happen.
And despite the fact that there are some people out there who don't really own these things or care about these things or even see a use for these things, there are people that think that that's their opinion, but they also believe that breaking the law, a federal agency or a state agency breaking the law in order to push their agenda is wrong. They believe in liberty, and they also believe that you have the right to own whatever you want, even if it is a dumbass Glock or something. You can own that all day long. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I won't stand next to you at the rally and support, fighting to protect, Glock rights matter and stuff like that. So I think that even though there are a bunch of people that go, yeah, it doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to get off the couch. But there are other people who say, yeah, this doesn't affect me, but I'm still there with you, because it's wrong what they're doing. This is like when they put something on the ballot and the people vote on it and they vote it down. So then they sneak it in to a bill and they just make it happen anyhow, right? It's the same sort of thing. It's not right. It's not right at all. I think we need to put pressure on our gun rights organizations to do stuff. As far as putting pressure on your elected officials, I know how discouraging it can be, because I've done that before, and I've got the chain letter says, oh yeah, well, we've heard and we care and we believe in it, and then the asshole doesn't do anything. But it's also important to show up to vote. Although at this point, I have trouble saying that without wanting to throw up, because apparently they know how to.
Apparently voting doesn't matter, because it's going to be whatever the fuck they want it to. There's like 5 today.
So as much as we have the ability...
That's it. Rated R tonight. Fuck it. Don't care.
Well, I mean, why not, right? But as much as we have the ability to legally push back and fight and do the right thing, as many fail-safes that are built into our government and checks and balances and stuff, it is a bit discouraging. So I think it's important it's important to, if you're frustrated and that sort of thing, to take a breath, gather yourself up, and when you act, make sure that you're acting in a responsible, productive manner. And
I would tell you, if you want, Squib, you're absolutely right.
Well, use these shows as a resource. Ask your questions, share your ideas. Let's use these sorts of platforms as a resource for when we are discouraged and we go, why bother? Why should we want to throw our hands in the air, right?
That was me today. I almost didn't do this show because I was so aggravated by this and so discouraged and so pessimistic by this that I really didn't want to come on and do this show tonight. I really didn't, but I felt that I had to, because, I'm not going to sit on my couch and do nothing. I'm not going to not encourage you to get off your couch and do something. You know what I mean? That's why I'm here doing this tonight, even though I'm really, really aggravated by this and really discouraged by this, because I suspect that regardless of what we're doing, even though we have to get out there and fight, we have to say something, we have to let our voices be heard, because if we don't, we have no right to say a goddamn thing about it. We have no right to bitch about what they do if we don't tell them what we think about it. We have to do it. So that's why I'm here tonight. Travis P11 says, not sure if you saw the news, but Dominion fired some of their ballot managers that have come forward about the vulnerability of the machines. Yeah, that don't shock me. You blew the whistle, you get fired. Mel the Nut says, next we'll be banning specific super deadly calibers. Yeah, probably.
Hey, budget, do us all a great big favor. Take a couple seconds, deep breath, slow in, slow out. We don't need you having a heart attack on the show. Or an aneurysm or anything like that.
After drinking 2 rock stars tonight, yeah, I just might. that is entirely possible.
Could I recommend that you take up smoking?
I quit that 17 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I quit. I used to smoke. I smoked from when I was 14. I started at 14 and I stopped at 32. Best thing I ever did. So, no.
Good for you. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, well, it was about the 5th or 6th time I tried to quit. And I was finally tired of it, and I was done. And once I made that committed decision, yeah, it sucked, but it was really simple. Just don't smoke. And when I got the urge to smoke, I chewed Big Red gum because the cinnamon flavor would overwhelm the taste buds and get rid of that. I mean, those of you who smoke or who used to smoke, you know what I'm talking about when I say that taste for it. You get the one when you get that taste in your mouth, like, yeah, I want a cigarette right now. You overload your mouth with the hot candy, the cinnamon flavor, and it overwhelms it and takes your mind off of that. So that's what I used, and it helped me quit. I also used the nicotine patch for like 5 days, and then after that, total done, nothing. I have not had one since, and when I see how much cigarettes cost nowadays, I'm really freaking glad I quit, because $6 to $12 a day would suck. So, get out there, folks. Go to the links I sent out in the chat, and tell the ATF what you think about this. Be polite, be professional. Do not be profanity laden like my rant tonight. See, I'm so angry I can't even speak. Worse than usual, man.
I was gonna say that's where you have a hard time stringing words together sometimes when you're calm.
I know, right? So it's bad. Midnight Range says, what about Seven Wonders? He smokes wieners. Can he still keep smoking those? Hey, man, whatever his smoker allows. Wieners, chicken, beef brisket. It's all good.
I don't know if Midnight should be the one spouting off about certain things. If anyone have ever listened to The Closer, you might have an idea what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Ohio Wolverine says, have you covered Stand Your Ground in Ohio? I just got here. Not yet, but it's a-coming. But what we're talking about next, though, is this piece from AmmoLand. Polymer 80 refuses California subpoena to turn over customer information. Good for them. It's from December 14th by John Crump. The war on 80% frames continues heating as companies fight back against a rogue federal agency. As AmmoLand News reported earlier, the ATF raided Polymer 80, seizing computer equipment over its buy, build, shoot kits. The agency's goals appear to be to obtain customers' personal information. It is unknown precisely what information the ATF was able to retrieve, since Polymer 80 stored most customer information in the cloud. The company did not hand that access over to the ATF. No, who did hand customer information over to the ATF was Stamps.com and Polymer 80's credit card processing companies. They ratted your asses out. At the same time, Polymer 80 received a subpoena from the state of California demanding that they turn over customer information. Polymer 80 is refusing to comply with the subpoena and is committed to fighting back against the anti-gun state. Polymer 80 attorneys told AmmoLand News that the company will fight against California's legal request and is committed to protecting its customers' information. The company is still selling and manufacturing 80% frames. California is suing the ATF over 80% frames and 80% lower receivers, aka ghost guns. The state believes that the ATF should consider these items firearms. Gun rights advocates point out that these products cannot fire a projectile, and therefore cannot be considered a gun. It still falls on the user to finish the chunk of plastic or aluminum before it is a gun. There is also a long history of Americans making their firearms, and users can print a pistol frame with a 3D printer or simply buy the parts at a Home Depot to make a shotgun. The law states that users do not have to serialize their DIY firearms. The ATF still takes the stance that 80% frames and receivers are not firearms, as evident in internal documents from our sources inside the agency. Still, the agency now suddenly considers an 80% frame bundled with the parts to complete the gun as a firearm, even when not assembled. The internal documents falsely claim that a user could put together a weapon in minutes using the kits. The kits require the owner to grind, file, drill, and fit all the pieces before the completed firearm can fire a projectile. That takes more than a few minutes. Contacts at Brownells.com confirmed the ATF also showed up at the Brownells, Iowa office and other retailers demanding customer information. Brownells.com, who did not have the buy-build shoot kits that the ATF was targeting, made the point that Brownells would have gone bankrupt in lawyer fees before it complied with this demand. Good for them. Brownells told the single ATF agent that visited them that although the company still proudly sells Polymer 80 frames, that it did not sell the buy-build shoot kits and therefore would not turn over any customer records. That lone agent left without obtaining a single document. The Firearms blog reported that the ATF did turn up at a reader's house and determined his Polymer 80 buy-build shoot kit. Demanded his buy-build shoot kit. The reader did turn over the equipment to the ATF and received a receipt from the agents. MLN News reached out to several high-profile attorneys specializing in firearms to ask if the owner of a buy-build shoot kit could face any type of criminal charges. The lawyers all told MLN News off the record that it would be doubtful that an owner would or could face any charges. They believe that the ATF is most likely using the threat of charges as a fear tactic to force compliance. They suggested that users remain silent and not speak to the agents if they show up at their residence and demand their property. MLN News has also reported Brady United co-opting a tragic murder to sue Ghost Gunner Inc. and 12 other parts manufacturers over 80% lower receivers. With the ATF, California, and Brady United moving against DIY firearms, some in the gun world believe that these are coordinated attacks. MLN News does have documents showing anti-gun groups in direct communication with several state governors' offices, although none of the documents we have obtained shows anti-gun groups talking about 80% frames or lower receivers. It is still possible. Gun Owners of America have called for the firing of acting ATF Director Regina Lombardo. The president still has the power and authority to remove Lombardo as the head of the rogue agency. Yeah, till January 20th. So there you have it, folks. Polymer 80 says, hey, ATF, not ATF, but California, shove it. I think California needs to hear more of that.
That's true. Polymer 80 is based out of Nevada, correct?
Correct.
Under what legal statute can a state demand documents like that from a company not based in their state? Unless they've got a retail location, like, say, Walmart or...
Because they ship stuff to their state, I guess, would be the... why they would assume they have legal standing for that.
Okay, I didn't know if there was any kind of statute or court ruling or anything that would back that up. That's what I was trying to figure out. But I know California thinks its authority, goes freaking worldwide. They've got that kind of arrogance. I was just trying to see if they had a leg to stand on.
Travis T says, "What's up, peeps?" What's up, Travis? Lockjaw says, "Contact and encourage others to contact your congressmen and women to let them know we won't stand for new gun control with the next administration. Why wait for them to start pushing their agenda?" Absolutely. That's why I end every show with that. Contact your Congress critters and elected representatives. Absolutely correct. Let's see. Oddball Stuff says, "Way to go, Brownells." Hey, OBS, how you doing? Travis T says, "I respect any gun company that tells the intrusive feds to piss off." Yep. Gotta love that. Speaking of gotta love it, great news out of the Buckeye State. This is another reason why I decided to come on here tonight, because not only do I have some of that depressing, disheartening, discouraging crap, I have some good news to report as well. From the beautiful Buckeye State, OH, I'll let you give me this. Here we go. Ohio Senate sends Stand Your Ground gun law to Columbus, Ohio. Governor Mike DeWine wanted stricter penalties on gun sales to dangerous felons. What fellow Republicans sent him was a law eliminating a duty to retreat before shooting in self-defense. What's not clear is what the Republican governor does next. Lawmakers in the Ohio Senate on Friday approved changes to Senate Bill 175, which would eliminate the duty to retreat before shooting in self-defense. The bill passed 18-11, with 4 Republicans opposing the change. Traitors. The change, often called Stand Your Ground, would dramatically expand where a person can shoot another without trying to flee first from a home or vehicle to anywhere the person has a legal right to be, which is how it should be. Proponents of eliminating a duty to retreat say a potential victim shouldn't be asked to flee a dangerous situation. Laws in at least 25 states have no duty to retreat and attacker anywhere the person has a legal right to be. Less than a dozen of those states include language stating a shooter may stand his or her ground, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Senator Peggy Lehner, R. Kettering, argued that Ohio lawmakers should prioritize laws that would have protected the 9 people fatally shot in Dayton last year over legal legislation that prioritizes gun rights. Senator Lehner, your ass should be voted out of office. If we're going to engage in symbolism, let's engage in symbolism that says we are a loving people. We are a peaceful nation. And you are smoking crack because we have never been a peaceful nation. We are a violent nation. We are a nation that has evil people in it. And you need to be able to defend yourself against those evil people. Let's reach out with some symbol that it's time to put the anger and hatred that seems to be consuming our country aside. Well, maybe we should just make it illegal to, hurt people and stuff, huh? Who'd have thunk it? Lehner and 3 other Republicans joined Democrats voting against the bill. Senators Matt Dolan of Chagrin Falls, Stephanie Coons of Hilliard, and John Eklund of Munson Township. All of whom, you constituents, need to vote out of office. Late Thursday, House Democrats tried unsuccessfully to block the bill with emotional pleas about how the change would disproportionately harm black Ohioans. Ohio mayors, police chiefs, and prosecutors opposed the change. We shouldn't have to beg for our lives, said Representative Erica Crawley, Democrat, Columbus. Just being black in this country, it should not be a threat. And it isn't. And if nobody should have to beg for their lives from a criminal. Nobody should have to try to run away before they can defend themselves from a scumbag who's intent on attacking them. On Friday, Senator Cecil Thomas, Democrat North Avondale, said the changes aren't required because Ohioans aren't convicted for shooting without fleeing first. Instead, the change will encourage confrontations, said Thomas, a former Cincinnati police officer and someone who's full of shit. The bill creates an environment where de-escalation is no longer required, Thomas said. Someone's loved one will die as a result of this legislation. Well, sir, what you're saying is inaccurate hyperbole because the bill doesn't change the fact that you still have to show why you were in fear of death or imminent death or severe bodily harm before you are allowed to use deadly force. It does not mean that someone says, hey, buddy, screw you, and you can say, oh, yeah, and shoot them. You still have to be in what a reasonable person would determine to be fear of imminent death or severe bodily injury. It just means that you don't have to run away now. After the Dayton mass shooting last year, mourners shouted for DeWine to do something. Since then, Ohio's GOP-controlled legislature has passed no law restricting access to firearms. Good. DeWine told the Inquirer this week that lawmakers shouldn't look at other gun bills, including Stand Your Ground legislation, until some protections are passed. None of his proposals were included in Senate Bill 175. Good. A DeWine spokesman said Friday that the governor was reviewing the proposal. And this asshole just might veto it. I'm not sure if they have the votes to override a gubernatorial veto. I sure hope they do, though, because screw Mike DeWine. One term, DeWiner. One term. One freaking term, you RINO son of a bitch. Period. I don't care if I got to vote for a freaking Democrat for the next gubernatorial election. I'm voting against you. We should have primaried Mary Taylor in, not your RINO ass. 7 says, I knew somebody out there would Would have my back. Ohio Wolverine says DeWine will veto it. He's a Democrat in disguise. Yeah, I know. Travis T says Ohio had duty to retreat. I thought y'all were better than that. Apparently not. Like if someone wants to steal your Polar Pop, damn right, that's my Polar Pop. Poor conservative. Who defines reasonable? The jury. X322X says DeWine is a runt. Yeah, but I think you misspelled that word. Squib. Yes, Squib agrees with me. Oddly, there's a bill in Texas trying to implement duty to retreat, but keeps the castle doctrine. Yeah, they want you to have what we just had, what we currently have. And it's bullshit. Ohio Wolverine says hopefully Mary Taylor will run again. I hope so too. And hopefully the primary process this time will get rid of DeWine's ass. Because, yeah, he's about worthless as tits on a boar. Let's see. In other news, there is progress. Well, not necessarily progress, but more action on the... There's a piece from BearingArms.com. Smith & Wesson lawsuit reveals stealth attack against gun industry from December 16th by Cam Edwards. With the filing of a federal lawsuit on Tuesday, gunmaker Smith & Wesson revealed a new front in the war on your guns. New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruhl has begun a widespread crusade targeting firearms manufacturers, ostensibly over their advertising practices, but in reality, because of their very existence. As the Wall Street Journal first reported, Gruhl has issued a subpoena seeking a range of internal documents relating to how their guns are advertised, including claims of the safety of the company's products, whether they make a home safer or enhance one's lifestyle, whether an untrained consumer could successfully and effectively use a Smith & Wesson firearm for personal or home defense, and whether private citizens should have the right to carry a concealed firearm. Rather than rolling over for the anti-gun Attorney General, however, Smith & Wesson fired back with litigation challenging the subpoena and maintaining that Gruhl's actions are an abuse of his position undertaken to suppress a political viewpoint with which he disagrees, which is 100% correct. The lawsuit argues that Gruhl's anti-gun ideology has led him to join gun control activists in targeting gun makers through lawfare. Noting, for instance, that Gruhl has specifically hired a law firm named Paul Weiss Rifkind Wharton and Garrison LLP with an eye to target gun manufacturers. That firm is also counsel for a little-known coalition called FACT, F-A-C-T, which is comprised of anti-gun litigators from Giffords, Brady, and other gun control groups. FACT's mission is to craft creative legal strategies to advance the gun control agenda, and at the moment, going after gun manufacturers for their advertising is seen as a tactic with a lot of potential. The gun industry has been largely free of legal attacks since a 2005 federal law granted it immunity from liability claims over gun violence. But in 2019, the Connecticut Supreme Court said an AR-15 maker could be held legally responsible for marketing practices that allegedly made the semi-automatic gun the weapon of choice for mass shooters. That court overturned the dismissal of a wrongful death lawsuit brought by families of victims in 2012's mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Since then, the parents of a woman killed in the 2017 Las Vegas massacre have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the manufacturers of the AR-15 style rifles used by the gunman under a similar theory. Unlike the two cases mentioned by the Wall Street Journal, it doesn't appear as if Gruhl's subpoena is connected to any particular event. Instead, it looks like a fishing expedition on the part of the Attorney General, as well as an attempt to chill gunmakers' speech, which is exactly what the attorneys for Smith & Wesson argue in their complaint. Through the subpoena, purportedly acting pursuant to the New Jersey Consumer Fraud Act, the Attorney General commands Smith & Wesson to produce a vast collection of documents on a number of topics, most of which are, at bottom, opinions on either legal issues or matters of current public debate. These statements of opinion should not be subject to review by state officials for accuracy and cannot form the basis of any investigation sounding in fraud. For example, the subpoena treats as fraudulent any alleged position that guns enhance safety. To the extent Smith & Wesson has ever advocated for such a position, it is an opinion held by many people, many of whom are customers of Smith & Wesson's business. The search, "Do Guns Make You Safer?" in Google returns 248 million results. Some of those returns reflect the position that guns do not make one safer, while others present the exact opposite position. The subpoena also demands that Smith & Wesson defend what appears to be a legal position on the Second Amendment. To wit, the subpoena demands the company's position on whether Smith & Wesson firearms can be legally carried and concealed by any consumer, including by New Jersey consumers, while in New Jersey. This purported legal position cannot constitute a statement sounding in fraud. On and on and on the questions continue, with many of them indeed reflecting a matter of opinion as opposed to incontrovertible fact. The remainder of the subpoena constitutes an unconstitutional fishing expedition into virtually all of Smith & Wesson's purported advertisements and marketing materials going back decades. Moreover, as evidenced by the Attorney General's close coordination with anti-Second Amendment activists, this fishing expedition is aimed at obtaining documents for use by those anti-Second Amendment activists. To wit, the subpoena demands a. Copies of all advertisements for Smith & Wesson merchandise that are or were available or accessible in New Jersey concerning home safety, concealed carry, personal protection, personal defense, personal safety, or home defense benefits of a firearm. B. All documents concerning any test, study, analysis, or evaluation considered or undertaken, which relates to, addresses, evaluates, proves, disproves, or substantiates any claim made by those advertisements. The Attorney General warned Smith & Wesson in the subpoena that failure to comply with the subpoena may render Smith & Wesson liable for contempt of court and such other penalties as provided by law. As the Second Amendment Foundation's Alan Gottlieb told me in response to the news of Gruel's witch hunt, New Jersey may have been the first state to ratify the Bill of Rights, but their Attorney General is the last person to recognize it. That's a good line. Gruel's not just going after Smith & Wesson. The National Shooting Sports Foundation's Larry Keene says that he's aware of a number of manufacturers who've been served with similar subpoenas, and we'll be talking more about that later today on Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. The Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs has sued Gruel several times over the state's gun control laws, and the group's executive director, Scott Bach, told me in a conversation on Tuesday evening that the out-of-touch AG can't be satisfied merely by restricting the Second Amendment rights of those who set foot or live in the Garden State. Now they want to blame others outside of New Jersey for problems they have been unable to solve, Bach continued. Instead of severely punishing criminal behavior inside New Jersey, they have turned to falsely scapegoating those outside New Jersey who have done nothing wrong. Their efforts will fail. It's clear that Gruel and the anti-gun attorneys involved with FACT have decided to pursue an anti-Second Amendment goal of bankrupting gun manufacturers by targeting the First Amendment rights of corporations like Smith & Wesson to not only advertise their products, but speak about the right to keep and bear arms itself. I'm glad to see Smith & Wesson pushing back against Gruel and his gun control allies, and I expect we'll see more companies do the same in the coming days. Let's hope Bach is right and that the AG's efforts fail, because if they succeed, the results could be devastating for more than one of our rights. So what's the logical extension of this, people? Is it the logical extension of New Jersey's stance here that Smith & Wesson doesn't have the right to say that the Second Amendment is beneficial, that their products are beneficial to New Jerseyans, that New Jerseyans do indeed have the right to carry and own and possess firearms for their safety, that there are benefits to home defense by Smith & Wesson firearms? Is the logical extension that from Smith & Wesson can't say that to you can't say that? Well, Attorney General Gruel, here's what I'm going to say. New Jerseyans have the right to carry and own firearms for their protection. New Jerseyans have the right to defend themselves with firearms. New Jerseyans have the right, and there is benefit to defending their homes with firearms in New Jersey and anywhere else in this country or beyond. New Jerseyans have the right to own any damn firearm they please, regardless of what you think. So come after me, because I'll tell you to shove a subpoena right up your ass.
Tinfoil hat for a second.
Sure.
If they can, push and keep something like this, where for whatever reason, Second Amendment doesn't apply or whatever, how long till First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth, some of these other ones can have the same logic applied to them? I mean, you start letting them get rid of one, they're going to start doing it to the others as well. So, I mean, even it's an issue beyond just the firearms industry.
Yeah. But they're wanting to apply it to the firearms industry because they want to get rid of the firearms industry. They can't do it legislatively, so they're going to do it through they can't do it through legislation, so they're going to do it through litigation and regulation. That's the strategy they're taking. And they want, this is nothing more than a fishing expedition to try to get ammunition to file yet another frivolous lawsuit against the gun company to try to exploit the crack that Connecticut gave them on marketing of their firearms so that they can bankrupt someone else, just as they did with, who was it, Remington? Look what happened there. So this is all that this is. But Smith & Wesson is fighting back, so hopefully that gains some traction. Speaking, FPC challenges California's 1 in 30 firearm purchase ban in new Second Amendment lawsuit. This is from today, December 18, 2020. Today, FPC announced the filing of a new federal Second Amendment lawsuit, Michelle Wen et al. Versus California Attorney General Javier Becerra et al., challenging the state's ban on purchasing more than one handgun or semi-automatic centerfire rifle in a 30-day period. Plaintiffs in this action include Firearms Policy Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation, 3 individuals, and 2 licensed firearm retailers in San Diego County. The complaint can be found at fpclegal.org. The state of California unconstitutionally prohibits, under pain of criminal penalty, the average adult individual who is not prohibited from possessing and acquiring firearms, even those known to defendants as such, from purchasing or receiving more than one handgun at a time. The plaintiff's complaint says, and as of July of 2021, that prohibition will extend to all semi-automatic centerfire rifles, thus applying to 2 large categories of constitutionally protected firearms that are unquestionably in common use for lawful purposes. At the same time, defendants allow a dozen categories of government-favored people to freely exercise the right to acquire and take possession of firearms without being subject to delays or subjecting the transferee or licensee to criminal liability or the risk of arrest or prosecution. These exempt categories include the Hollywood exemption, whereby the state of California carves out an exemption for their wealthy and influential friends in the entertainment business. The state of California currently prevents law-abiding individuals, even those known to be fully eligible to exercise their right to keep and bear arms, from acquiring more than one handgun within a 30-day period, explained FPC attorney Anthony Miranda. This will soon apply to semi-automatic centerfire rifles as well. The state's ban on the number of firearms that can be acquired in a single transaction is a clear violation of the individual right to keep and bear arms, as well as a burden on the exercise of the fundamental rights at stake here. California's ban on multiple firearm purchases in a 30-day period is without rhyme or reason, particularly when the prohibition is compared to those who are exempt from the ban, explained Adam Kraut, FPC's Director of Legal Strategy. Such a restriction on the acquisition of arms plainly violates an individual's Second Amendment rights. We look forward to challenging this ban and are cautiously optimistic that the court will find, as the D.C. Circuit already has, that the restriction is unconstitutional. Firearms Policy Coalition and its FPC law team are the nation's next-generation advocates leading the Second Amendment litigation and research space, having recently filed 2 United States Supreme Court petitions for certiorari, Folajtar versus Attorney General and Holloway versus Attorney General, and several major federal Second Amendment lawsuits, including challenges to the state of Maryland's ban on assault weapons, Bianchi v. Frosch, the state of Pennsylvania and Allegheny County's carry restrictions, Coe v. Mullen, Philadelphia's gun permit unit policies and practices, Fetserka v. Outlaw, Pennsylvania's ban on carry by adults under 21 years of age, Lara v. Ivanchik, California's handgun ban and roster laws, Rena v. Becerra, Maryland's carry ban, Call v. Jones, New Jersey's carry ban, Bennett v. Davis, New York City's carry ban, Greco v. New York City, the federal ban on the sale of handguns and ammunition by federal firearm licensees to adults under 21 years of age, Reese v. BATFE, and others, with many more cases being prepared today. To follow these and other legal cases FPC is actively working on, visit the legal action section of FPC's website or follow FPC on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So, FPC, they might ask for money all the time, but they're spending it on what they need to. They're not buying Adam Kraut a shit ton of clothes and paying for his intern love shack. If he has one, I guess he's paying for that himself. Unlike Wayne LaPierre.
With the case that they just filed, did it happen to mention what court they filed it in?
It's a federal lawsuit, so whatever federal court has jurisdiction there.
Okay, that's where I'm hoping that it was filed. That's where, because they've gotten smart here in the last year or so. That's where they've been filing a lot of them in Southern California, because that's the federal judge down there, is Robert T. Benitez. He's the one that gave Freedom Week, Ammo Day, and a few of the others.
United States District Court for the Southern District of California.
Yep, that would be under Benitez. So that one might have a chance.
So yeah, here's hoping, right?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yep. You know, California's, speaking of stupid AF.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
First up in this week's episode of Moron of the Week. Oh, come on, really? No, I don't want that. Bah! I hate pop-ups, by the way. I need to get a pop-up blocker going on. This piece from FoxNews.com. Kamala Harris. Yes, I know it's Kamala or whatever. I call her Kamala. Actually, that's not what I call her, but it's not family friendly. Had something to do with a particular dromedary's toes. Kamala Harris calls to honor Sandy Hook victims with gun reforms. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris called for gun reforms to honor the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School mass shooting on Monday, which marked the 8th anniversary of the tragedy that took the lives of more than 24 people, including 21st graders. Harris marked the occasion in a tweet that was accompanied by pictures of the victims. Really? Today marks 8 years since 21st graders and 6 educators were murdered at Sandy Hook Elementary School, she wrote. To honor the lives lost in this terrible tragedy and to exploit them to the fullest extent possible to advance our agenda, it's past time we implement common sense gun safety reforms to keep our children safe. Advocates for gun control measures have often cited the December 14, 2012 shooting at the Newtown, Connecticut school and other mass shootings. The Sandy Hook shooting left 20 first graders and 6 teachers and staff dead. On Monday, Senator Dick Blumenthal, Democrat, Connecticut, said the victims should be honored with positive action and to redouble efforts against gun violence under a new administration. You know, I think you're absolutely right, Dick. I think there should be positive action to honor the victims of this and to make sure that this never happens again. Let's put armed security in every freaking school and protect our children just as we would a bank, and even more than we would a damn bank. How about that? Maybe that's some common sense for you. Let's put something in there that would deter someone from entering a school and trying to shoot it up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy.
But it has to be someone that's actually willing to step up and do it when, if the needs are called upon, not like the coward of Broward.
Yeah, not somebody who's just trying to sit out the end of their career and is already retired on duty, We can't have that. So first up is Kamala Harris, first contestant on Moron of the Week. Next up is, wow, this gem. And, I I don't want to put another YouTuber out there. I really
just
don't.
keep pulling until it's.
So I'm not putting out the YouTube guy. It's not the channel that I'm putting out. It's the activity that's in the video. So let me make that clear. But this video, wow, dude. Watch this.
Stops firing.
Those of you who can't see this, there's a gentleman with a Thompson rifle, which actually looks funny with a 16-inch barrel, I'm not going to lie. He's trying to bump fire this thing. He's got a thumb hooked in a belt loop, and he's trying to bump fire it. But if you notice in the upper right-hand corner of the video here, what do you see in relation to where this muzzle is? Because it sure looks to me that there's a whole bunch of people sitting on the deck of that trailer
figure it out.
in front of where the muzzle is.
Like if you pull too hard, it won't do it right. You gotta pull right in the middle.
All this guy has to do is rip off an uncontrolled burst and turn to the left, and he's going to turn a lot of people into leaking corpses.
Hold the front of it. Just let that hand where it's not hitting the front of it, and just pull.
You know, again, this is the kind of shit that anti-gunners think is all of us. This makes every single one of us look bad.
That's it. That was close, wasn't it?
You know, basic gun safety, folks. Don't have anybody in front of the line of fucking fire. Damn. Ugh. Sorry. Man, don't have anybody in the line of fire. So, Bump Fire Buffoon, you are next in the Moron of the Week. Then we're going to have the BATFE for their bullshit letter that they put out, the bullshit guidance, the bullshit request for comments that isn't even following the statutory period that they're supposed to have, and that doesn't give us anything concrete. So, you know, BATFE, you're the next contestant on Moron of the Week. And then Joe Biden, just for being Joe Biden. Calaveras, who do you have as your favorite this week?
I'm gonna go with the bump fire jackass.
Bump Fire Buffoon. Squib?
I'm going to go with the bump fire guy, not because he probably would have killed his whole family, because that's just natural selection taking place, but just because bump firing is kind of retarded.
All right, out there in the chat, who do you think is the favorite for this week? Kamala Harris, Bump Fire Buffoon, Joe Biden, or the Batfags? I shouldn't have probably said that last, but
I kind of like that. That's got a nice ring to it.
Mel the Nut says BATFE. Guy that comments says Bump Fire Buffoon. Got 22 watching. Let's get some votes, folks. You already voted for him, Squibby.
Yeah, but from what I understand is I can run it through the machine as many times as I want.
Well, that's true. You are in Michigan. I'll allow it.
Yes, and we are definitely...
Carly says Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we're definitely corrupt here.
Oddball votes for Kamala. So we got 2 for Camel, 4 for Bump Fire, and 1 for the BATFE. Anybody else out there want to weigh in and tell me who you think deserves to be the Moron of the Week this week? Ohio Wolverine votes another one for the Camel.
You know those semi-auto Thompsons with the 16-inch barrel are not cheap.
Oh no, they're not.
So he spent all his money on that gun, that he can't shoot, but he lives in a trailer.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to say shit. I lived in a trailer for 15 years, dude.
Oh, I've lived in a few myself. I ain't afraid to say, but I'm just saying. It's priorities.
Yeah, I know. Anybody else? We got 3 for Camel, 4 for Buffoon, none for Joe Biden, and 1 for the ATF. Seven. All I'm seeing is metal detectors at every entrance and armed guards equals no more school shootings. Yep. That,
Me too.
I can see
7,
that.
I put some stuff in last week that got blocked. Certain words, the bots, I think, are blocking. So it's not even going to be visible. It'll be visible to you, but not to anybody else. If you've got a secondary account, go live on that, and you'll see it's not there.
Yeah, so try to reword it, 7, whatever it was you said. Because
put 2 spaces between each word. That helped me. Uh-oh, now YT's onto us.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll probably get ghosted. I'll vanish. I will be deplatformed.
That's probably better than getting depantsed or something.
7 Wonders says bump stock buffoon. So we got fire for bump fire buffoon. 4 for camel, and 1 for the BATFE. Guy that comments, you already voted.
It's dumbass that YouTube won't accept. I just typed it in here on Google with my squib load, and I went over to Firefox and on my squib lift, and it's not showing up. But I can see it over here. So yeah, YouTube doesn't like the word dumbass.
Okay.
Dumbass.
All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call this one for Bumpfire Buffoon. You are the moron of the week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
All right, folks, those of you who are longtime viewers of the show know what's coming next, and that is Roll Call 219's favorite segment, Self-Defense Shoutouts, which, no, Squib, I still haven't made the daggone intro yet.
Yay!
For those who are interested, self-defense shot for those who have never been stuck around to the end or who are new to the show, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge by taking a dirt nap. It's where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making him do the same. News, 6abc.com. Man dead following attempted carjacking at gas station in Tioga, Nicetown, police say. Philadelphia. Philadelphia police said one man is dead following a shootout at a gas station in the city's Tioga, Nicetown area, the pop-ups have said. Here,
Nicetown, for real?
Yeah, that's what it says, Nicetown. Tioga, Nicetown neighborhood, Saturday night. It happened just before 11 p.m. in the Sunoco A-Plus Mini-Mart parking lot at the intersection of Broad and Hunting Park Avenues. According to police, 2 men attempted to carjack and rob a passenger while the driver of the vehicle went into the gas station store. Investigators said the driver came out of the store and fired shots at the suspects, and a shootout ensued. Police said the driver shot one of the suspects in the chest. He was taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police are still trying to track down the second carjacking suspect. Officers said the shooter had a legal permit to carry a handgun. Good for him. I'm assuming it's him. It might have been a she. Either way, good for them. And I was only able to track down 2 self-defense shoutouts this week, so it's going to be a short one. This is from the BaltimoreSun.com. Rosedale man fatally shot in Walmart parking lot was attempting to rob another man, police say. Baltimore County Police say a 20-year-old Rosedale man who died Sunday was fatally shot in a Walmart parking lot after he attempted to rob someone. Baltimore County Police spokeswoman Officer Jennifer Peach said on Sunday that the department was called to the Golden Ring Shopping Center at 6420 Peachtree Way Road in the Rossville area just after 5:20 p.m. for a shooting. When police arrived, Peach said they found Kumar Jumar Birney suffering from a gunshot wound to the upper body. Peach said Birney of the 5300 block of King Arthur Circle was transported with life-threatening injuries to Johns Hopkins Bayview Medical Center, where he later died. Police said Birney arranged a meetup in the parking lot with a man he found on a popular app selling an expensive pair of shoes. During the transaction, police said Birney attempted to rob the seller, who pulled a handgun, shot Birney once, then called 911 and remained at the scene. Responding officers located Birney lying in the parking lot with a gunshot wound and recovered a loaded handgun from him before he was transported to the hospital. Investigators interviewed and released the seller, who was cooperating with the police investigation, police said in a news release. Once detectives from the Baltimore County Police Homicide Unit have concluded their investigation, the case will be reviewed by the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office. All the businesses in the shopping center were able to stay open while police investigated, Peach said, since the shooting was in the parking lot and away from the storefronts. Peach said a shooting like this took her by surprise because normally the department would advise people meeting to exchange something after buying it online or meeting for the first time to do it in a well-lit public area. This is disturbing for us as a police department and for a lot of people around here because it is the holidays and this is a very busy shopping center, Peach said. This is the type of area that we would normally tell people to go to if you are meeting someone for buying something online. Yeah, I do a lot of transactions in a McDonald's parking lot or Walmart parking lot. But yes, 7, I firmly believe this is a case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And really, that's how it's supposed to work, in my humble opinion. Speaking of humble, I am, as always, humbled and amazed that you guys have spent this time with us this evening. I'd like to thank you for coming. And speaking of like to thank you for coming, I'd like to thank my illustrious panel members for coming and being part of the show tonight. Squib, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Any plugs you would like to make, sir?
Yeah, I'm really kind of disappointed that YouTube doesn't like the word ass, asshole, or dumbass. I'd like to plug freedom and free speech.
Outstanding. Pickle, is there anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
First of all, thanks for the invite. I, love being on the show every week. Since he won't, plug anything for himself, check out Squibload's channel. He does have good content, even though you won't admit it. You can check out my stuff here on YouTube as well as a number of other platforms. And check out tomorrow morning for, 1 second. Sorry. Tomorrow morning, is Caliber Corner with Travis P11. Hope to see some of you over there.
And I would like to let everybody know that next week is Christmas on Friday. I'm not doing a show. I'm taking Christmas off. I will be here for the week after, though, which is New Year's Eve. We're going to be doing a New Year's Eve show. We're going to do kind of a retrospective, a rewind of 2020 as far as the right of the people goes. Maybe talk about if there's something pressing that came up over the next week. We'll talk about that. We will also do a Moron of the Year bracket, where I'm going to select wonderful winners of the Moron of the Week and do a bracket, and you guys can decide who the Moron of the Year is. So don't miss that. We will ring in 2021 together and put this horrific year of 2020 to rest. Yeah. So Merry Christmas to all of you, and get on the horn to your Congress critters elected representatives. It's real critical now that we put pressure on them as we prepare for a Biden-Harris administration or Harris-Pelosi administration, however that ends up. And, make sure that you go to the Federal Register at the links I put in the chat. And I will put a link to the Federal Register in a pinned comment below. leave a comment. Let them know what you think about this. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeons, heliograph, smoke signals, bicycle messengers, Morse code, whatever you need to do to let them know what you think. And never, ever, ever give up the fight.